The call came at 11:47 p.m., just as I was finally drifting off to sleep. Mom's ringtone, that specific wind chime sound I'd set to warn me of incoming drama, shattered my peace like a brick through glass. I'm Lindsay, and I've been the family fixer since I was old enough to spell responsibility. Baby, I hate to ask this, but we need your help. Mom's voice had that breathless quality it always got when money was involved. The roof is leaking so badly, and your father, well, you know how he is with repairs. I did know, just like I knew the sound of tears being manufactured on the other end of the line. Mom, it's almost midnight. The water's coming in through the ceiling. Claire's helping us put buckets everywhere. We've gotten quotes, but no one will give us a loan without a co-signer. Your credit is so good, sweetie. Of course it was. I'd spent my entire adult life making sure of that, while watching my parents bounce from one financial disaster to another. How much? I asked, already reaching for my laptop. Just 30,000. We found this wonderful contractor. 30,000? For a roof? Well, there's other damage too. Water damage. And we need to fix the gutters and... I heard shuffling, then Dad's voice came on the line. Princess, how's my girl? Listen, I know it's a lot to ask, but you're the only one we can turn to. You've always been our rock. Their rock, their ATM, their safety net, the responsible one. Let me talk to Claire, I said, more shuffling. Hey, sis. My younger sister sounded tired. It's pretty bad here. Water's definitely coming in. And you can't co-sign because... You know my credit's shit from that whole business with my startup. Please, Linz, they're really freaking out. I rubbed my temples, feeling the familiar pressure build. Put Mom back on. Oh, thank you, baby. I knew we could count on you. We can meet at the bank first thing tomorrow. I already have all the paperwork. Of course you do, I muttered. What was that? Nothing. Text me the details. I have an early meeting tomorrow. After hanging up, I stared at my phone's dark screen, seeing my own reflection. 31 years old, successful risk analyst, my own apartment, and still jumping when they pulled my strings. The next morning, I met them at Riverside Bank. Mom was wearing her best responsible borrower outfit, the navy blazer she saved for important occasions. Dad had actually combed his hair. Claire slouched in the corner, tapping away at her phone, probably updating her Instagram followers about some new product partnership. The loan officer, Ms. Martinez, laid out the documents. So this is a home improvement loan, correct? For roof repairs? Yes, Mom said quickly. Absolutely essential repairs. I scanned the paperwork. The interest rate wasn't terrible, but as a co-signer, I'd be equally responsible for the payments. And you've gotten multiple quotes for the work? Of course, baby. We wouldn't dream of not doing our due diligence. Mom patted my hand. You know how careful we are with money. I barely suppressed a snort. Dad shot me a warning look. And when does the contractor start? I asked. Oh, well, we need to coordinate schedules. Mom waved her hand vaguely. But soon. Very soon. We just need to get this paperwork done first. Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on what. Maybe it was the way Mom kept glancing at her watch, or how Dad was being unusually quiet. Finally, Mom said, we'll be able to go places in style. She caught herself. I mean, we'll finally have a proper roof over our heads. I frowned. What does that mean? Going places in style? Oh, nothing. Just thinking about how nice it'll be not to worry about leaks when we're out and about. Now, where do we sign? My pen hovered over the signature line. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away. But then I made the mistake of looking up, into Mom's pleading eyes, Dad's encouraging smile, even Claire's bored but expectant expression. Just this once, I said, more to myself than them. But I want copies of all the contractor paperwork and receipts. Of course, of course! Mom was already pushing the papers toward me. You're such a blessing, Lindsay. What would we do without you? As I signed my name, I had a sinking feeling I'd just made a massive mistake. But that's the thing about being the responsible one. Sometimes responsibility feels an awful lot like being trapped. Ms. Martinez collected the documents, and Mom practically bounced out of her chair. This calls for a celebration. Lunch at Marino's? Can't, I said, gathering my things. Early meeting, remember? As I walked to my car, I heard Claire say, God, she's such a buzzkill sometimes. I pretended not to her. I was good at that. 3 weeks passed before I saw it. I was mindlessly scrolling through Instagram during my lunch break when Claire's latest post stopped my thumb dead in its tracks. There, gleaming in the sunlight of our parents' driveway, was a brand new Mercedes GLE coupe. My coffee mug slipped from my fingers, splattering across my desk. Whoa, you okay? Vincent from the next cubicle peered over. That's not like you to spill things. I turned my phone to show him the post. The caption read, Mom and Dad finally living their best life. New car. Deserved. No more minivan. Blessed. Nice car, Vincent said, then caught my expression. Not so nice? Remember that roof repair loan I co-signed for them 3 weeks ago? His eyes widened. No way. I was already dialing Claire's number. She picked up on the 4th ring. Hey, sis, what's up? I'm kind of in the middle of a shoot. The Mercedes, Claire. What happened to the roof repairs? A pause. Oh. That. She lowered her voice. Look, Mom and Dad really needed a reliable car. The minivan was falling apart. They used my co-signed loan to buy a luxury car? My voice drew stares from across the office. I ducked into the break room. It's just a car, Lindsay. Why do you always have to make such a big deal out of everything? Because it's fraud, I hissed. They lied about the loan's purpose. They used my credit. God, you're so dramatic. They'll make the payments. They always figure it out. Like they figured out my trust fund? Claire went quiet. That was different. Was it? I ended the call and slumped against the vending machine. Vincent appeared with paper towels for my coffee spill. Want me to help you clean up? Thanks. I started wiping my desk mechanically. I need to call the bank. 20 minutes later, I was on hold with Riverside Bank, my stomach churning. Finally, a voice came on the line. This is Sandra. How can I help you? I pitched my voice higher, adding my mother's slight southern drawl. Yes, this is Scarlett. I'm calling about our recent home improvement loan. Of course, Mrs. Wolfe. Let me pull that up. I just wanted to confirm. Did we take out any other loans recently? My husband and I were discussing it, and I got confused about the amounts. I'm showing just the one loan for $30,000 from 3 weeks ago. Would you like to review the payment schedule? No, that's fine. My voice shook slightly. And that was specifically for home repairs, correct? That's what's indicated on the application, yes. Is there a problem with the contractors? No, no problem. Thank you so much. I hung up and immediately opened my laptop. The next hour was spent taking screenshots, every social media post showing the car. Every comment from my parents bragging about their upgrade. The dealer's congratulatory post tagging them in the delivery photo. The loan documents I'd fortunately scanned before signing. A chat window popped up on my screen. Vincent. You okay? You've been pretty intense over there. Me. Just documenting everything. Vincent. Want to grab coffee after work? You look like you could use someone to talk to. I glanced over at him. Vincent and I had gone on exactly 2 dates 8 months ago before deciding we worked better as friends. But he was right. I needed to talk to someone who wasn't tangled in my family's web of manipulation. Me. Coffee would be good. At 5:30, we sat in the corner of Standard Brew, away from the after-work crowd. I showed him everything I'd collected. So, what are you going to do? He asked after I finished explaining. I don't know. Confront them? He shook his head. They'll just deny it or guilt you into letting it go. You need leverage. Leverage. Evidence, documentation, a paper trail. He took a sip of his Americano. My cousin Adrian's a lawyer. He specializes in financial fraud. Want me to give him a call? I stared into my untouched latte. Isn't that extreme? Is it more extreme than them committing loan fraud using your credit? My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. The car is amazing, baby. You should come see it. We'll take you for a ride. I showed Vincent the message. His eyebrows shot up. They're not even trying to hide it, he said. They really think you'll just roll over and accept this, don't they? I always have before. I straightened my spine. But not this time. Want me to call Adrian? I nodded, then pulled up my banking app. My credit score had already dropped 5 points since the loan was issued. Yes, I said, my voice hardening. Call him. As Vincent made the call, I opened my photos and looked at the trust fund documents I'd found last year, the ones showing unauthorized withdrawals when I was 19. I'd been too afraid to rock the boat then, but I wasn't 19 anymore, and this time I had receipts. The storage unit smelled like dust and forgotten promises. I hadn't been here since moving to my apartment, but somewhere in these boxes was the proof I needed. My phone flashlight caught the labels. High school, college, Aunt Sarah's papers. That last one made my hands shake. Need help? Vincent stood in the doorway, holding 2 coffees. Thanks for coming. I took a cup. It's in here somewhere, all the documentation from when Aunt Sarah left me that trust fund. We started opening boxes. Every photo, every old card brought back memories I'd tried to bury. Then Vincent held up a manila envelope. This it? The envelope was thick with legal documents. I sat cross-legged on the concrete floor and started reading. There it was. The transfer papers from when I was 19, with a signature that was supposed to be mine. Look at this. I handed Vincent the document. That's not my signature. He compared it to my driver's license. Not even close. Who would have... Mom. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through contacts I hadn't touched in years. Found the one I was looking for. Melanie Ross. My godmother answered on the 2nd ring. Lindsay, is everything okay? Remember when you stopped talking to Mom 12 years ago? Was it because of Aunt Sarah's trust fund? Silence crackled over the line. Then, you finally found out. I need to see you. Today, if possible. An hour later, Vincent dropped me off at Melanie's craftsman-style house across town. She looked exactly as I remembered. Silver hair in a neat bob, kind eyes behind reading glasses. You've grown so much, she said, hugging me. Come in, I'll make tea. In her sunny kitchen, she pulled out a folder I recognized. I kept copies of everything. I knew someday you'd ask. Why didn't you tell me back then? She set 2 mugs of chamomile on the table. I tried. Your mother convinced you I was lying, remember? Said I was jealous of your family's happiness. The memory hit like a slap. I'd believed Mom. Stopped talking to Melanie. Exactly what Mom wanted. Tell me everything, I said. Your Aunt Sarah left you $50,000 in a trust fund. It was meant for your education or a down payment on a house. But your mother... Melanie's hands tightened around her mug. She forged your signature, transferred most of it to their account. When I found out and confronted her, she threatened to cut me out of your life completely. How much did she take? $42,000. They bought that boat they'd always wanted. Took a cruise. Your father said they deserved it after all the years of raising you girls. My tea grew cold as Melanie laid out the pattern, the manipulations, the guilt trips, the way they'd always used my sense of responsibility against me. And now they've done it again, she said after I told her about the car. Some people never change, sweetheart. They just find new ways to take advantage. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Mom's posting about the new car on Facebook. Says you helped them get it because you're such a wonderful daughter. Thought you should know. I showed Melanie the message. They're not even trying to hide it anymore, she said. They think you won't do anything about it. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. Good. She squeezed my hand. It's time someone held them accountable. I'll lose my family, honey. From what you've told me, you never really had them. You had people who saw you as an ATM with a guilt button they could push whenever they needed money. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. The dealership wants to feature us in their newsletter. Our wonderful daughter helped make our dreams come true. We're so blessed. Melanie read over my shoulder. They're documenting their own fraud. Keep everything. I am. I pulled up my growing digital folder. Screenshots, loan documents, social media posts. The lawyer said it's building a solid case. What about the trust fund papers? I hesitated. The statute of limitations has probably passed. Maybe, but it shows a pattern of behavior. That matters in court. She went to her desk and returned with a USB drive. I scanned everything back then. Take it. As I stood to leave, she hugged me again. Your aunt would be proud of you, you know. Not for the money, for finally standing up for yourself. I'm scared, I admitted. Of course you are, but you're stronger than they think, stronger than you think. Walking home, I scrolled through old photos on my phone. Found one from my college graduation, Mom and Dad beaming beside me, probably already planning how to get their hands on my first real paycheck. Claire sulking in the background because the day wasn't about her. I deleted the photo. Some memories weren't worth keeping, and some families weren't worth protecting. My phone buzzed one more time. Vincent. Ready for tomorrow's meeting with Adrian? Me. Ready to stop being their ATM? It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about every time they'd used me, lied to me, manipulated me. It was about finally saying enough. Adrian's office wasn't what I expected. No mahogany desk or leather chairs. Just a clean, modern space with photos of his kids on the walls and a desk that looked like it came from IKEA. It made him seem more approachable, less intimidating. Vincent sat beside me as I spread out my evidence across Adrian's desk. Well, Adrian said, reviewing the loan documents. This is pretty clear-cut fraud. They obtained the loan under false pretenses, using your credit to purchase something entirely different from what was stated in the application. Can we prove it? I asked. He held up their social media posts. They're practically confessing online. The timeline matches perfectly. Loan approval on the 15th, car purchase on the 16th, no evidence of any home repairs. He leaned forward. But before we proceed, I need to ask, what do you want out of this? I want... My voice caught. I want them to face consequences, real ones. For once in their lives, there are several ways we can approach this, Adrian said, pulling out a legal pad. We could report the fraud to the bank directly. They'd likely repossess the car and pursue your parents for the full amount. Or we could negotiate a settlement where they take full responsibility for the loan and remove you as co-signer. What about pressing charges? Adrian's eyebrows rose slightly. That would be more severe. Criminal fraud charges could mean fines, possibly even jail time. Is that what you want? I want leverage, I said, thinking of Vincent's advice. I want them to know I could press charges, but I'm willing to be reasonable if they cooperate. Smart. Adrian nodded. We can draft a demand letter outlining terms. They admit to the fraud in writing, transfer the loan solely to their names, and agree to a repayment plan with the bank. If they refuse, we proceed with formal charges. They'll try to guilt her, Vincent spoke up. They always do. Then we need to be prepared for that. Adrian turned to me. Do you have any other evidence of financial manipulation? Previous incidents that show a pattern? I pulled out the USB drive from Melanie. Will 12-year-old trust fund fraud help? Adrian's eyes widened as he reviewed the documents. This is significant. The statute of limitations may have passed for legal action, but it absolutely establishes a pattern of behavior. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was calculated. My phone buzzed. Mom again. Baby, we're planning a family photo shoot with the new car this weekend. Wear something nice. I showed Adrian the message. Keep collecting everything, he said. Every text, every post, every communication. We're building a wall they can't charm or manipulate their way through. As we left his office, Vincent suggested grabbing lunch. We found a quiet corner in a nearby cafe. You okay? He asked as I pushed salad around my plate. Just thinking about Claire. She's going to hate me for this. The sister who's been enabling their behavior and watching you get used for years. Maybe her opinion shouldn't be your priority right now. My phone lit up with a new Instagram notification. Claire had posted a video of herself in the Mercedes. Taking Mom's new baby for a spin. Thanks for making this happen, sis. Best family. Vincent read it over my shoulder. She's either completely oblivious or deliberately twisting the knife. Knowing Claire? Both. You know what I don't understand? Vincent set down his fork. If they're willing to commit fraud with your credit, what else might they be hiding? Financial secrets have a way of multiplying. That thought haunted me all afternoon. Back home, I dug deeper into my old papers, found bank statements from my first job in college, noticed small withdrawals I didn't remember making. Then I found it, an old credit card statement, a card I never remembered applying for. My hands shook as I dialed Adrian's number. I think they opened a credit card in my name when I was in college, I said, without preamble. I just found the statements. Can you prove you didn't apply for it? I was studying abroad that semester, in Spain. I have my passport stamps to prove I wasn't even in the country when the application was submitted in person. Send me everything, Adrian said. This is exactly what we need. If they're willing to ruin your finances now, what else are they hiding? After hanging up, I sat in my quiet apartment, surrounded by paper evidence of years of betrayal. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Princess, your mother's planning a big family dinner this weekend. Time to celebrate our blessings. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started a new document. At the top, I typed, Timeline of financial fraud and manipulation. It was time to map out every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal. Not for revenge, though that would come, but for freedom. Freedom from guilt. Freedom from manipulation. Freedom from being the responsible one who always paid the price for their irresponsibility. The document grew longer with each memory I uncovered, and with each entry, my resolve grew stronger. The first payment notification came exactly 30 days after they bought the car. Payment overdue, the email read. Please contact your loan officer immediately. I deleted it without responding. Let them deal with the consequences. 3 days later, my phone exploded with notifications. My credit score had dropped 20 points. Mom had left 6 voicemails. Dad had texted 12 times. Even Claire was blowing up my Instagram DMs. I was in a meeting when they showed up at my office. Ma'am, you can't just... I heard our receptionist protest. That's my daughter in there. Mom's voice carried through the glass walls. Lindsay, baby, we need to talk to you. Every head in the conference room turned toward me. My boss raised an eyebrow. I am so sorry, I said, standing. Please excuse me. They were creating a scene in the lobby. Mom in tears, Dad trying to charm the security guard. Claire filming everything on her phone, probably for some dramatic social media post. Outside, I said firmly. Now, in the parking lot, Mom grabbed my arms. Baby, something's wrong with the loan. They're saying we missed payments, but that can't be right. We need you to call them. No. The single word stopped her mid-sentence. What do you mean, no? Dad stepped forward. Princess, this is serious. They're threatening to report us to the credit bureau. Good. I kept my voice level. Maybe they should. What is wrong with you? Claire lowered her phone. They're your parents. Who committed fraud using my credit. I turned to face them directly. You lied about the loan's purpose. You bought a luxury car instead of fixing the roof, and now you're not making payments. We were going to fix the roof too, Mom stammered. We just needed reliable transportation first. Stop lying. My voice cracked like a whip. I have all the documentation, the loan application, your social media posts, everything. Dad's charm vanished. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I pulled out my phone, showed them the folder of screenshots. I've already spoken to a lawyer. A lawyer? Mom's tears dried instantly. You'd sue your own parents after everything we've done for you? You mean after everything you've taken from me? The trust fund you stole? The credit card you opened in my name in college? Their faces gave them away. They hadn't known I'd discovered those yet. That money was for the family, Dad said weakly. We needed it more than you did, and now you need this car more than you need my trust. Fine. Keep it, but you're on your own with the payments. You'll destroy your own credit, Claire protested. A small price to pay for finally being free of this. I started walking back to the building. Don't come to my office again. You'll destroy this family, Mom screamed after me. Over a little loan? I turned back one last time. You already did that. Years ago. I'm just finally admitting it. Back at my desk, my hands shook as I emailed Adrian. They showed up at my office. I'm ready to proceed with everything we discussed. His response came quickly. Documentation of workplace harassment adds to our case. I'll have the papers ready tomorrow. Vincent appeared with coffee. You okay? That looked intense. They really thought they could guilt me into fixing this for them. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. Again. And instead, I'm letting them face the consequences of their actions, probably for the first time in their lives. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire. Mom's having a breakdown because of you. I hope you're happy. I blocked her number, then Dad's. Princess, please, we can work this out as a family. Blocked. Mom's. After everything I've sacrificed for you. Blocked. The silence that followed felt like standing in the eye of a hurricane. I knew the storm wasn't over. It was just gathering strength. They'll try again, Vincent said, reading my expression. Probably. But I'm done being their safety net. My email pinged with another credit score notification. Down another 10 points. I should have felt panicked, but instead, I felt light. Free. Want to grab dinner? Vincent asked. You probably shouldn't be alone tonight. Thanks, but I need to do something first. That evening, I drove to my storage unit, found the box labeled Family Photos. Inside were albums, loose pictures, holiday cards, decades of carefully curated happy moments that now felt like evidence of an elaborate con. I didn't burn them. That would have been too dramatic, too much like something Mom would do. Instead, I sealed the box and marked it Donate. Some memories weren't worth keeping, some relationships weren't worth saving, and some debts, the emotional ones, were finally being called due. Claire found me in the parking garage after work, leaning against her Tesla, another influencer perk she was always bragging about. We need to talk, she said, arms crossed. About what? How you're still enabling them? About how you're destroying our family over one little mistake. Little mistake? I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. Want to see what their little mistake is doing to my credit score? Or should we talk about the trust fund they stole? The credit card they opened in my name? She blinked. What credit card? Ask Mom about the Visa account she opened while I was studying in Spain. I'm sure she'll have a creative explanation. You're being dramatic. No, Claire. For once in my life, I'm being realistic. I tried to step around her, but she blocked my path. They're selling the Mercedes, she said. Taking a huge loss, but they're selling it. Isn't that enough? Too late. The fraud's already been committed. So, what do you want? I handed her a folder, the one Adrian had prepared. These are my terms. They admit the fraud in writing, sign a legally binding document taking full responsibility for the loan, make a repayment plan with the bank, and they do it all within 7 days. Or what? Or I release everything to the bank's fraud department, press charges, let them face the legal consequences. She flipped through the papers, her influencer poise cracking. You'd really do that to them? They did this to themselves. And you helped them. I didn't know. Bullshit. My voice echoed in the concrete structure. You knew exactly what they were doing. You posted about the car, tagged me in photos, made sure everyone knew your wonderful sister helped make it happen. Mom said you agreed. When? When exactly did I agree to help them buy a luxury car? Was it when they called me at midnight crying about a leaking roof? Or when they lied to the loan officer about home repairs? She fell silent, staring at the papers. You have 7 days, I said. Get them to sign, or I file charges. They'll never agree to this. Then they better get good lawyers. I finally managed to step around her. Oh, and Claire, stop posting about me on social media. I'm not part of your carefully curated family narrative anymore. You're being cruel, I turned back. No, I'm being clear. For the first time in my life, I'm setting boundaries. It's not my fault you don't like where they're drawn. At home, I found 3 emails from Mom, each more desperate than the last. The final one was just 1 line. We raised you better than this. I forwarded it to Adrian, then opened my private Instagram story, visible only to family, and posted a simple legal notice. 7 days, Vincent called minutes later. Claire's posting about family betrayal on her stories. You okay? Better than okay. I finally gave them my terms. How'd they take it? About as well as you'd expect. Claire tried to guilt me in the parking garage. Mom's sending emotional emails. Dad hasn't tried yet, but he will. What's your prediction? They'll wait until day 6, thinking they can wear me down. Then they'll show up crying, probably at my office again, with some dramatic new crisis they need me to fix. And if they do? I'll press charges. I looked at my credit score, down another 15 points. I'm done playing their games. My phone buzzed with a text from Melanie. Claire just called me, trying to get dirt on you. I shut that down fast. Stay strong. Then, another notification. Mom had posted a long Facebook status about ungrateful children and family loyalty. Tagged me in it. I screenshot it, added it to my evidence folder, then blocked her there too. Adrian's email arrived just before midnight. Everything's ready to file if they don't comply, but be prepared. Most people like this don't believe consequences apply to them until it's too late. I thought about all the times they'd faced consequences before. The bounced checks, the maxed out credit cards, the failed businesses. Someone had always bailed them out. Usually me. Not this time. I opened my laptop and typed out one final email. Mom, Dad, Claire has the paperwork. You have 7 days to sign everything and take responsibility for your actions. If you don't, I will file criminal fraud charges. No discussion, no negotiations, no guilt trips. Your choice. Lindsay. I hit send, then turned off my phone. Let them panic in the dark. Let them realize their safety net had finally snapped. 7 days to face reality. 7 days to admit their crimes. 7 days before their carefully constructed world of manipulation came crashing down. The countdown had begun. Day 7 arrived with a whimper, not a bang. No dramatic 11th hour appearance. No tearful phone calls. Just silence. At 9 a.m. I called Adrian. They didn't sign. I've already filed the paperwork, he said. The bank's fraud department has been notified. Are you ready for what comes next? Before I could answer, my office phone lit up. Reception. Ms. Lindsay, your parents are here with their lawyer. I smiled grimly. Right on schedule. Send them to conference room B and call security to stand by, please. Vincent caught my eye across the office and gave me a thumbs up as I walked past. They were already seated when I arrived. Mom, Dad, and a tired-looking man in a rumpled suit. No Claire. Interesting. This is Mr. Patterson, Dad said, his usual charm strained. He's here to help us resolve this misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, I said, sitting down. My lawyer should be here any minute. We don't need lawyers. Mom started, but the conference room door opened and Adrian walked in, pristine in his tailored suit. "Actually, we do," he said, setting his briefcase on the table, "especially since my client's terms were ignored, and we've already filed fraud charges this morning." Mr. Patterson's face fell. "Filed? We were hoping to negotiate—" "The time for negotiation was the past 7 days," Adrian said. "Now we're moving forward with criminal charges for loan fraud, identity theft, both current and historical cases, and financial elder abuse regarding my client's aunt's trust fund." "Elder abuse?" Mom's voice rose. "Sarah was my sister." "Who left her money to your daughter? Not you," Adrian replied coolly. "Money you stole through forged documents." "We needed it!" Dad slammed his hand on the table. "We're your parents. Everything we did was for this family." "The Mercedes was for the family?" I asked quietly. "The cruise you took with my trust fund. The credit card you opened in my name." Mr. Patterson was frantically flipping through his papers. "Perhaps we could discuss a settlement?" "Too late," Adrian said. "The bank is already moving to repossess the vehicle. Criminal charges have been filed, but—" He paused. "My client is willing to consider a plea arrangement if you cooperate fully." "Cooperate how?" Mr. Patterson asked. "Full admission of guilt. Complete repayment plan. No contact with my client unless she initiates it." Adrian slid over a document. "The DA's office has already approved these terms." Mom started crying. Real tears this time, not the manufactured ones I'd grown up with. "You'd send your own parents to jail?" "You committed fraud," I said steadily. "Multiple times. For years. Did you really think there would never be consequences?" "We're your family," Dad protested. "No." I stood up. "You're people who used me. There's a difference." The conference room door opened again. A police detective entered, followed by 2 uniformed officers. "Mr. and Mrs. Wolfe?" the detective said. "We have some questions about several instances of financial fraud." Mom's tears stopped instantly. "You called the police? Here? At your workplace?" "Actually," Adrian said, "that was the bank's fraud department. They take false loan applications quite seriously. What followed was surreal. Watching my parents being escorted out in handcuffs, my mother screaming about ungrateful children, my father trying to charm the officers. Mr. Patterson hurried after them, already on his phone, presumably calling for bail. Vincent appeared with coffee. "You okay?" "No," I said honestly, "but I will be." My phone buzzed. "Claire." "They're being arrested. How could you?" I blocked her number again. Adrian packed up his briefcase. "The DA will be in touch. With the evidence we provided, they'll likely offer a plea deal. Probation, mandatory financial counseling, full restitution." "And if they don't take it?" "Then they face the full charges. Either way, they can't hurt you financially anymore." Back at my desk, I opened my email to find a notification from the credit monitoring service. My score had dropped another 30 points from the fraud report, but underneath was another email from the bank's fraud department. They were removing the loan from my credit report, marking it as fraudulent activity. My score would be restored within 30 days. Vincent leaned over the cubicle wall. "Want to get lunch? You look like you could use a break." "Actually," I said, "I need to do something first." I opened my banking app and set up a new savings account, named it House Down Payment. For the first time in my adult life, I could save money without worrying about emergency calls from my parents, without guilt, without fear. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Dad. "You've destroyed us." I typed back, "You did that years ago. I just held up a mirror." Then I blocked his number too and went to lunch. Some debts were finally being paid. The tow truck's reverse lights cast harsh shadows across my parents' driveway as it backed in to collect the Mercedes. I hadn't planned to be here for this, but something drew me to witness it. "You don't have to watch," Vincent said from the passenger seat of my car. "Yes, I do." Claire stood in the doorway, filming everything for her social media. Mom sat on the front steps, face buried in her hands. Dad was nowhere to be seen. The repo man was efficient, professional. Within minutes, the Mercedes was hooked up and ready to go. "Wait!" Mom rushed toward the truck. "Can't we just make a payment? Work something out?" The repo man shook his head. "Bank's orders, ma'am. Loan fraud case." As the truck pulled away, Mom finally noticed my car parked across the street. She started walking toward us, but stopped when she saw my expression through the windshield. "Drive?" Vincent suggested. I nodded and started the engine. In my rear-view mirror, I watched my mother grow smaller, still standing in the middle of the street. "Where to?" Vincent asked. "The bank. I need to close some old accounts." At Riverside Bank, Ms. Martinez was waiting with paperwork. "Your credit score should be fully restored by next week," she said. "The fraud department has cleared everything." "And the joint accounts?" "All closed, as requested. Though you should know, your parents tried to withdraw everything yesterday." "Tried to?" "The accounts were already frozen due to the fraud investigation." She smiled. "We do know how these cases typically go." My phone buzzed. A news alert. Local business section. "Local influencer Claire Wolf loses sponsorships amid family fraud scandal." "Karma's working overtime today," Vincent commented. Next stop was Adrian's office. He had updates. "They're taking the plea deal," he said. "Probation, financial counseling, full restitution, and they've agreed to the no-contact order." "Claire, too." "She's not technically part of the criminal case, but—" He slid over a cease and desist letter. "If she continues harassing you online or at work, we can pursue legal action." "Has she posted anything new?" "Just deleted everything about you from her social media. Smart move, considering." On the drive home, Vincent was unusually quiet. "What's on your mind?" I asked. "Remember our first date, when you got that panic call from your mom about their electricity being shut off? And I left dinner half-eaten to go pay their bill. Not my finest moment. I knew then you deserved better than being their personal bank." He paused. "I just didn't know how to tell you." I pulled into my apartment complex. "Want to try that dinner again? Without the panic calls this time?" His smile was answer enough. Inside, I found a package from Melanie. Inside was an old photo album I'd never seen before, with a note. "Your Aunt Sarah wanted you to have this, when you're ready to remember the good parts of your family history." The photos showed a younger, happier version of my mother with her sister, before the manipulation, before the greed, before everything went wrong. My phone buzzed. An email from Claire. I found Mom's old journals. She's been planning stuff like this for years, using people, manipulating them, even her own sister. "I didn't want to believe you, but I'm starting to understand why you did what you did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just wanted you to know you weren't crazy." "See." I showed Vincent the email. "Are you going to respond?" "Not yet. Maybe not ever." I closed the email. Some relationships need to stay broken to remind us why we broke them. And your parents? They made their choices. Now they get to live with them. My phone buzzed again, my credit monitoring app. Score up 50 points already. The system was healing, even if the relationships never would. Ready for dinner? Vincent asked. Actually, I pulled out my laptop. Help me with something first. Together, we scrolled through real estate listings. Houses with good bones, solid foundations, no leaking roofs. You're really doing this? He said. Building a life without their chaos. Yes. I clicked on a promising listing. Want to come look at it with me tomorrow? Wouldn't miss it. Later that night, I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights. My phone was quiet, no guilt-laden texts, no financial emergencies, no manufactured crises. The silence felt like freedom. My credit would recover. My savings would grow. My life would move forward. But my trust? That got repossessed along with the Mercedes. And unlike the car, it wasn't something they could ever buy back. Some debts, after all, were meant to stay unpaid.